Good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in for this episode of Fermented Friday. My name is Jim. I'm with the Brewers Association of Maryland, and this afternoon I'm joined by Nick Wilson of Olde Mother Brewing Co. in Frederick. We are both actually joining you from West Virginia. Nick is down at his home in West Virginia, and I'm visiting my in-laws this weekend. So we're coming from foreign soil, but we're still here to talk about Maryland beer. Nick, how you doing this afternoon? I think you were still muted, man. I'm sorry for that.
That's all right. How you guys doing?
Doing great. I'm very happy to have you on. You and I have been trying to connect in a fun way for a while. I always love seeing you in person, but when I get the opportunity to talk to you over a computer, that's just as cool.
Yeah, hopefully the internet connection stays strong for both of us, I would imagine.
Yeah, so rumor has it that telecommunications in West Virginia might be a problem. So if Nick or I lose signal, hate to say it, but we might have to cut this one short. Before we get really into it today, I just want to let everybody know that today is National Beer Run Day. The Brewers Association of Maryland has been a part of the advocacy for the Beer Run Day, and we would like you to go out and support your local independent brewery by purchasing some local independent beer. So please go out, place your orders for curbside pickup, carry out, or delivery from your favorite local brewery, and celebrate this weekend safely with great, local, delicious, independent beer. Nick, why don't you tell us real quick what Olde Mother's hours are this weekend, what people can do to get your beer, and then let's jump into your story.
Well, tonight we'll be open till 10, and tomorrow for the 4th of July, we are going to be open till 5, so everybody can come grab their beer, have a good time over the weekend, and Sunday will be open till 7. And you can also do beer deliveries today, and that's it. We will not be doing delivery tomorrow or Sunday.
I just noticed your Spaceballs merchandise in the background. I think Mel Brooks got to you, huh?
You know, it just needed to be, this is my life.
I love it. Well, you look good. I haven't seen you in person in a while. Everything's looking nice. You've putting on the beard. The haircut's looking right. I think it's time to talk about beer and talk about Olde Mother.
Yeah, let's talk, man.
All right, so
cheers.
Yeah, cheers, man. It's very nice to see you. I'm having a lovely Hank American Lager beer. I commented when I first saw this beer, I love the label. I'm a big fan of Brian Baltz. He and I are good buddies, and every time he does work for you guys, I'm always impressed to see what he's putting out there.
We got some really cool stuff coming out in July that he worked on for us, and I can't wait to show everybody what he's been doing for us.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I follow him religiously on Instagram, so every time he hints at whatever he might be working on, I'm trying to figure out who he's doing it for.
Yeah.
So we've got some comments already coming in from people. Chris Sands, of course, says, "Nice looks, homeless." Wants to make sure you're doing well. Are you living under a bridge, or are you doing okay at home?
Well, it's been rough living with Chris's mom for the past 3 months, but I'm managing. So thank you for the comments, Chris.
All right. Yeah, mom jokes in the first 3.5 minutes of this thing.
Yep.
All right. Well, why don't you start out and tell us all about Olde Mother? I met you and Keith right before you guys were open. I met you at the Beer, Beards, and Brats in Mount Airy a couple months before you opened Olde Mother. So why don't you tell us about where you started, kind of how the business rolled into what it was, and then show us kind of where you are now.
Well, Keith and I were old friends from a long time ago, and then he went into the military, and we didn't see each other for probably 10 years. And I was working my job as a histologist, and I noticed somebody in the ceiling at my job one day, and I was like, looks like Keith. And it was. Turns out that he was into home brewing pretty extensively, and so was I. And we just went and hung out, went camping, had a bunch of beers, talked a bunch of stuff, and we decided to put together a plan to take our passion for brewing to a professional level. And we started in 2015 on a handmade 1-barrel system, which was pretty neat, to say the least. And, we just had a good time with it, had a good time with everybody that we met, and it's been pretty successful endeavor so far, and hopefully it stays that way. But yeah, then we ended up doing an expansion to our current location 2 years ago, and we're still just brewing beer and, proud to be part of the Frederick beer scene and under the Maryland beer scene. And that's where we're at right now.
So stylistically, when you guys were still homebrewing, things were starting to make a change in craft beer. We were going from people who were concentrating on kind of like classic adaptations of styles that had been revered for a while into this world where new styles were really kind of blanketing the industry. You saw the boom of the juicy hazy category and all that kind of stuff. How did you approach that coming from the hobbyist or the background of being a home brewer? How did you guys apply those changes so quickly at Olde Mother? Because you were adopting some pretty unique styles pretty close out of the gate from when you opened.
Well, we had the luxury of a very small system, so it allowed us to experiment. Which, for if we did 1.5 barrel or 3 barrels of beer, and it didn't turn out great, it's not the end of the world. The beer, there's not a lot of it, so it allowed us to experiment and practice with a lot of different recipes. And now that we've been doing that for a couple of years, we had a lot of solid recipes ready to go for our new system, which is a lot bigger. But yeah, it's just we could do, everybody will tell you, the smaller the system, the more freedom you have, the more fun and experimental you can be. And that's exactly what happened with us for the first couple of years.
And you and Keith were manning the bar pretty regularly for the first few years, right?
We did everything in the back, all business stuff, and worked every hour that we were open in the tasting room for quite a while. And that was it was a good time. It was a good time, but it starts to burn you out after a while. It starts to, it's just a lot of hours put in, and you start to slip up on the other aspects of the business. So we had to start hiring more people, and but we wanted to be the face of our business. We wanted to get to know everybody from the beginning, and we thought it was important, and still is important. But we wanted to just basically share our beer with everybody because we genuinely get excited about sharing our beer. So what better way to share it and talk about it than to actually be there the entire time, so you can get to talk to everybody.
Did that give you guys an opportunity to hear directly what people wanted when they were coming in, or what they might expect to see? Or were you more interested in trying to find the things that you thought would do well in Frederick and introduce those things?
I don't think I've ever thought of that, what would do well in Frederick. I think we pretty much just let our mind kind of go without having a real business plan, so to speak, of the beer. Just like, let's just have some fun. And if people respond to it, we'll keep that mental note of that. And if they don't, we'll keep a mental note of that as well. But really, it was just so much fun. I mean, it's such a small system. You literally could do anything at all. And it's just, have more freedom than the big guys. And I know that with all the big guys in Frederick, they're, they have to worry about more production stuff, which we deal with now. We don't have quite as much freedom as we used to because of that. But I don't know. We just thought of an idea and we just went with it. And, it wasn't like we just thought of something. If we thought it would taste good, we just went ahead and rolled the dice. And we still kind of do that to a degree with our bigger system now. And that's when you have some real fun, when you roll the dice on a 20-barrel batch of beer that you've never done before.
Well, you've laid the foundation to prove that you're putting out a product that people want. And I think that you can take that gamble knowing that people are going to come in, and you're either going to have a hit or miss, but you have enough volume coming through the door that people are going to give you that opportunity.
Right. And I do believe that the biggest thing for any craft beer maker and any craft beer drinker is that sometimes they may not like the actual recipe as much, but if you focus in keeping the beer clean, at least people can handle the beer and take it to a degree. It's when you start having little flaws and infections and stuff that people really start to notice what is going on there. And some people may mistake that for recipe development, but a more seasoned drinker will know that it's more of an infection type thing, or diacetyl, or any of that kind of stuff. So we just try and focus and make sure that our beers are ultra clean. And if it's not the style for you, at least you can at least get one down if you don't like it because it's clean. You know what I mean? So
well, and for people out there who may not know, Olde Mother kind of put themselves on the map for using a very, very unique ingredient in one of their beers that I think a lot of people probably would have said, I can't believe I'm about to drink that. And sure enough, they made a beer that delivered. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Tainted Love and what I'm trying to get to here? Because I think that you and Keith have built this up to be the most eloquent example of beaver anal glands that I could ever imagine.
Well, when you have a loss of internet where we live, you have to fill your time with other things. So we did a beer called Tainted Love, and the name of that beer is because we use the secretion from a beaver's castor sacs, which is called castoreum, and it adds a really nice vanilla note, accentuates a little raspberry to anything that you add it to. And we do a vanilla raspberry chocolate stout with the castoreum in there, and it's aptly named Tainted Love for obvious reasons. And people seem to enjoy it. I think it freaks some people out that that's in there, but once they try it, they're not so scared anymore, and it's all right. It's all good. Yeah.
Well, and you're delivering a quality beer that's made without a flaw. So at the same time, they get to enjoy something that's made well and have this experience with an ingredient that is actually fairly common. When I was talking to you the first time you guys brewed this, you let me know that this is the thing that you see on a label when it says natural flavorings for most raspberry or vanilla flavored stuff. Like, that's the thing that's there.
Natural ingredients. Yeah, it's FDA approved. And yeah, most people I talk to about it because they ask questions about it. And I'm like, listen, if you eat Breyer's vanilla ice cream, like chances are you're eating this. Yeah. And
it's
I
not
think
like
that's a wake up call to a lot of people.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Although if you need a beaver milk and league in Frederick, I'm sure that we could find a way to get a bunch of people together to help you make a hand processed version of Tainted Love.
Well, it mostly comes from Canada. There's not a lot of crime up there, so the Mounties need to find some part-time work to keep the income flowing in throughout the year.
All right, so what have you guys been working on the last few months? You've been introducing some good stuff into the market. You've been reviewing some of your kind of rotational styles. I know today we're going to talk about Sucker Punch in the lineup. That's a beer that's been around for a little while and seen a few iterations. So what's going on with your current lineup of offerings? Where are you guys focused? And then let's jump into a couple of beers that you want to showcase this weekend.
Okay. Well, for us, we try to have continuity so people can, be accustomed to the beers that they enjoy and be able to come in and get. We try to stagger them to a degree. That way you can not get just bombarded with just one style forever. You have some excitement for new styles, but also revisit old styles that people enjoy. The Sucker Punch series is we do a Kettle Sour, and we have different fruits that kind of go along with it. And we like to do different versions of it. Right now, we currently have a strawberry rhubarb Kettle Sour, which is the Sucker Punch. And I think people are receiving it pretty well. It's the first time we've done this variation of it, and it seems to be going pretty good. We enjoy it. My wife enjoys it. Most people I've talked to seem like they like it pretty well. And so this might be something that we keep around seasonally and bring back from time to time. And, we also try new things. We did an Orange Crush, which is an experimental type of beer. Jake, our brewer, had this great idea, and he wanted to roll with it. And we were like, yeah, go for it. It's just a very orange-heavy beer that kind of tastes like an Orange Crush. And we're pretty excited about it. And I think people are enjoying it. And, just do experimental stuff like that. And then we always do the Direwolf. Everybody loves IPA, especially doubles. So we'll do Direwolf. We did the Double Impressionist recently. And, just to kind of keep those beers there. And then we might take a month break and then try something else and then come back to those. And so you can have some sort of continuity without being burnt out on the same beer constantly.
You guys have been doing a good job of releasing a couple beers a week, it seems like, for the last couple of months. So coming through this whole situation with people doing their self-isolation and the limited hours in your tasting room for carry out and curbside pickup, how are you keeping that creativity flowing? Is it just making sure the tanks are full and you have something new to offer to get people out there?
Well, we really just tend to get excited about stuff. I mean, it is a business, but we all really love craft beer, just really love making it and trying it. And so when we get excited about something, we just go for it. And it's just, I don't know, we might just be sitting at work one day and have a total plan for that tank for next week. And then, you just might have an idea, I really want to taste this. And we're like, all right, let's switch it up and try this out. And sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't, but, we're always open. We did purchase a 1-barrel pilot system recently with a couple of 1-barrel fermenters. So that way we can kind of keep up with our demand on the distribution side a little bit with our bigger tanks. and also experiment with some of the kind of going like old school when we first opened. Be able to do some really off the wall stuff that's just crazy that we would never dream about doing to start with in a 10 or 20 barrel batch. And so we look forward to having that. We should have been running it now, but with COVID-19 happening, there's just so much less being consumed indoors that it's just not really worth us to really brew on it right now. So we just pretty much do larger batches and package for people to take home or go out to dish grill.
So speaking of indoors, I know that once Governor Hogan kind of allowed people to have some occupancy inside, you guys were able to utilize some of the space that you'd recently converted to indoor space with the additional service bar in the back in the brewery environment. Is that working out well? You have the space to do social distancing and all that there in the brewery?
Yeah, we have a lot of space for people. The thing that it's a bit uncomfortable right now, the fact that it's so hot outside and we don't have AC in the back area. It's just such a large area. But we're getting ready to change that. We're buying a brand new chiller system, and we're going to use that to actually air condition the rear space. We're going to use our glycol line to.
That's a clever way to handle that solution.
Yeah, Keith. His passion is like CFMs and like coming up with these equations and tonnage and loads of a machine, and so that's where his heart is. So he's having a good time, field day, doing a good job for the company and all of us, and hopefully the math comes out correct and AC will be in the back based off of our glycol system. So
I always thought Keith was just around for the witty banter and the good jokes. I didn't realize he had some really kick-ass technical skills.
Surely not for his good looks. So he's a dad now. He doesn't care. But
none of us do.
But yeah, he loves that stuff. So he comes from the HVAC world, and like he really likes to get into the bones of that kind of stuff, and which is great, So to have somebody like that a part of the team, and is really good to have.
Sounds like a novel solution, especially if you can adapt that glycol upgrade to the rest of the brewery and to what you guys are doing with your developing tank space or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. So we got a lot of expansion happening right now. So we definitely needed a bigger chiller. So if anybody's out there that wants to buy our old chiller, just contact us and we'll give you a sweet deal and get on with life and have a good time making beer. But yeah, man, we're looking forward to it because it gets, anybody that's in the brewing field knows that it gets hot in the brew house. And to be able to have just a glycol line that runs itself anyway for the tanks, to be able to shoot out cold air from that just as a bonus. Yeah. And we also purchased a canning line. And so a good reason to have this as well is like if you try to package on really hot days, it can kind of be a little challenging. And to be able to like knock hopefully 10 degrees off back there will help a good deal with packaging on the really hot, humid days.
How long ago did you guys bring the canning line into the brewery?
We haven't got it yet. It comes at the end of July, at the end of this month.
So you've been doing mobile canning on site for the last couple of months?
We have, yeah.
I know for a while.
It's been good, but it definitely comes with some challenges for sure.
So you were doing some contract brewing for a little while, right? For some of your year-round or your larger batch beers.
We did do that in our old space because we physically, with how we were so small, there's just no way we could keep up with what we were doing. And we did just a couple of batches for our transition into our new space. That's because we know we had to work out the kinks in the system and work with that. But after, I would say, since we started brewing on the new brew house, which was 2 years ago, we have not contracted any beer. We've been able to keep up as much as we can right now.
And I think that I see that being more and more common. It used to be that some places would kind of stay with the capacity that they expected to have in their brewery and then would contract out for space. But as we see the proliferation of breweries throughout the state, I think we see a lot of breweries that are either using the contract as almost a stopgap as expansion occurs or as you're building in. 1623 in Eldersburg just did something very similar where they contract brewed for a little while to get the brand up and going as their brewery was being built out. And then I think they switched all of their production to the new space. So it's nice to see that the contract is no longer kind of something that it used to be where a small brand would say, hey, I'd like you to produce this on my behalf. It's really more of a, hey, does anybody have some space where I can make this beer as I'm moving into what I'm doing?
Right. Yeah, expansions are incredibly difficult. And, if anybody doesn't know this, to open a kayak in West Virginia, all right. That must be Robert. But it's very expensive to open a brewery, and it's just so much time to get everything to fall into place. And the longer that you wait to be able to legally like make beer or get all your equipment in, you're just losing so much money, and it's so difficult to manage that. And so yeah, to what you're saying, no matter what size brewery you are, if you're opening up, they have the same hurdles as like a small guy. And to be able to like make some money off of their recipes and their beer during that time, is critical for them to not go out of business until that happens. So that is a nice thing about it.
Well, and you don't want to open a space and have an influx of new patrons, especially if you guys almost doubled your square footage with the first build out from your old location, right? For guest engagement.
Well, our old building was, I believe, the total square footage of the entire building was like 1,800 square feet, including our little brew house in there, tasting room, fermentation room, which if you want to call it that, it's yeah. But our new building now is we have 10,000 square feet,
and there's a lot of space in your brewery area. Yep. And when you initially built out, you had the front of the building was the tasting room space, and I feel like making sure you had enough beer for people who were going to be occupying that space must have been a very critical decision, because you don't want to show up and not have beer in the tanks for people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's correct. So, we chose a 10 barrel. We wanted to be able to still have flexibility to do new and exciting stuff, for 10 barrel batches. I know a lot of people that do 15s or 20s, but that kind of limits you on your creativity because there's such a large amount. And it's hard to get through that, especially if every batch is like 15 or 20 barrels. So, yeah, we decided to go with the 10 and, yeah, just to be able to like have change up. And it gives us enough to put a little out to distro and to keep the taps fresh in the tasting room.
That's great. So what does the distribution footprint look like right now? Where are you guys getting out, and are you doing everything through self-distribution?
We are with a distributor that goes throughout the state. And we don't push a whole lot out right now because it's actually been more since COVID, because obviously less people are inside in tasting rooms. But it's not much, like 15% of what we make will go to distro, and we're hoping to get more of that. We want to be able to grow and make more tanks and still keep the beer fresh and still have fun with it. And so that's been the challenge, to not oversaturate with like one brand throughout the whole state constantly. So I don't know. There's just some things that you try to play. I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad because people's business models are their business models, but we try to not flood with one brand so heavy, like constantly. But we also don't want to lose customers either, because they expect that beer and want to see it, continuously out on the shelves. So I don't know. It's just a game that we always play and try to keep everybody happy and ourselves as much as possible, but as we all know that's possible.
When you guys opened, did you and Keith have any aspiration to have distribution, or was the whole intent to keep everything in-house?
I think our only aspiration when we first opened, literally, maybe there's like 3 aspirations. Number one, to really make the best beer that we could do and really give a shit about it, because we really do. And really let that come through to anybody that wanted to try our product or hang out with us. And that's still our aspiration now. Number 2, we wanted to make sure that everybody had a good time, that come to hang out with us in person, because it was important to us. And the third one was just to not go homeless in the first year of starting a business.
So to Chris's point earlier, you waited until you're 2 years into your new facility, and then you take that look on.
Yeah, now I feel like, almost 5 years later, it's still the same 3 aspirations.
There you go. That's a good thing for your business model, man. You kept it all in line, and you're still going after the same goals.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So you sent me a list of 3 beers that you wanted to talk about for the weekend. I kind of showed one of them on the screen. We've already kind of dabbled around with the names of some of the other ones. So the lineup we talked about was Hank, your American lager. Talked about Sucker Punch and Blindsider. You want to start with any of those 3 and kind of give us a rundown on what the beer is and why people should be excited about it?
I'll talk about the Blindsider. This is a beer that some of you may have had, may have not had. We do different hop variations on this beer. And right now we did a hop variation of Enigma hops and Styrian Wolf. And the flavor that we're getting out of this is like really a heavy cannabis flavor, like big time. And it's kind of mixed in with a little bit of melon. And so it's a pretty interesting beer, pretty interesting flavored beer. And there's just enough bitterness on there to kind of like get you going. It's not like a New England at all where it's real soft and pilly. This is a little sharp in bitterness, not too bad, but a little bit. And it really is, it's really like cannabis. I mean, that's what it is. And so that's kind of the beer we wanted to make with this. And we feel like we succeeded because our IPAs, we try to make very uniquely different from the other ones. So it doesn't taste too similar. So there's something for everybody that they can enjoy when they try one of our IPAs. It's just they're really different, unique flavor profiles. So the Blindsider. And another one.
What is the availability of Blindsider look like right now? Obviously, you've got it in the 16-ounce cans. Can people come in and get that in crowlers at the brewery and take that away?
So right now we do have them in 4-packs available. We do have some on draft, but we have to wait for one of our beer lines to open up before we put the kegs on. So once that happens, if people prefer to get a crowler, that'll be available within the next week.
Okay.
But right now, 4-packs. And you're drinking a Hank, I see, right?
Yeah. Tell me about this Styrian Wolf hop. I haven't heard of this before.
It's something that I talked to for a while now with my hop farmer, and he swears by it, and he says it's like a really good hop. And so we decided to give it a chance. And it has like a really nice melon-esque flavor to it. Imagine like a Sabro, but just a little less bright of melon, just a little bit more like juicy fruit a little bit, but still kind of melony. And it has a really good flavor profile. We've been pretty happy with it.
So like melon rindy or maybe a little underripe melon rather than like that super bright poppy melon.
Yeah. But mixed with the right hops, it does give you a nice flavor profile. And we're finding with the Enigma hop, it's just a really interesting flavor.
That's awesome. And since it wasn't in a glass, I didn't get to see. Is that a filtered IPA? Is it clarified at all, or is it just put out unfiltered?
We don't filter any of our beers. We don't necessarily look to make the beer ultra hazy all the time either. We tend to we definitely like hazy IPAs and stuff like that, but we let our beer rest for a good amount of time. We want to make sure we get all the yeast out of the beer. I know that a lot of times when there's super cloudy and viscous beers, it's a lot of yeast in there, and those are great and everything like that. And we do some that are like that, but for most of the time, we want to make sure that the beer's clean and all the extra yeast is kind of out of there. And sometimes the beer becomes a little bit more clear in the process, but it doesn't affect the flavor really. Just it's just a really good clean flavor, and you get to taste the flavor of the hops cleanly.
And you're still embracing a little bit of bitterness, it appears, with this style, huh?
Yeah, so a lot of our IPAs are not very bitter at all. But like I said, we like to do different things, and we don't want to make the same IPA with just the same body, the same flavor components with just kind of different hops that taste similar. And we really want to make uniquely different beers and trying to get to another level with our IPAs versus just the big hazies, which are great, but we're just looking to do something a little bit different these days.
Awesome. So yeah, I think right before I interrupted you with the Styrian Wolf question, we were about to pop into the conversation about Hank. You want to talk a little bit about that?
So Hank, we're pretty down to earth, salt of the earth kind of people at Olde Mother. That's an understatement. And so we wanted to make a beer that had a flair to it that our grandparents would drink, because they worked on railroads and construction, and we wanted to pay a little homage to the people that are hardworking, blue collar, like in our families and for generations. And we didn't want to make a macro beer, but we wanted to make something that was kind of in that vein. And so we did a Hank, which is a 4.5% lager, with a nice dry hop to it to give it a nice earthy, like kind of floral tone to it to make it a little bit more. It makes it pop a little bit more than your typical macro. And it's just something that is affordable, highly affordable. We do 6-packs of 16-ounce cans for $11.99. So people just get a 6-pack of pounders and have a nice little fishing trip out there with their dad or grandpa or whatever. And I think it's something that the older generation can get behind too. That's not into craft beer. So, yep, Hank, that's what that pretty much embodies and symbolizes.
As a very big fan of craft beer, it's very nice to have something on standby that you can turn to that's made by a local brewery who is independent and supporting the local economy, that you can drink like this. I mean, this is, and I'm sure you've heard it more than once, but when people in the industry are all sitting around, everybody's mind starts to gravitate towards the beer that's refreshing, extremely easy to get a hold of, and is not going to put you under the table. And I think you've nailed that with this beer.
Oh, thanks, man. And you hang out with any professional brewers, we're all gravitating towards the lagers, the pilsners, just a real light, crisp beer that you can just sit back and enjoy, not get, flavor fatigue or palate fatigue.
Yep.
Even though we all love them, but, brewers, we're around the beer all the time and eating hops, and, hops are coming out of our face constantly. And, you look over here, you pull hops out, you're like, oh my gosh, I just need something that's a little bit more clean.
So where'd the name come from?
There is no reason for our name. We decided that you could think for days about, or weeks, or even years about a name, what means something to you. And I know that there's people out there that have such cool stories where they climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and a lightning bolt hit a tree and the word like burned into the tree stump, and like, oh, that's our name. But unfortunately, nothing cool like that has ever happened to us. So, we wanted to just get into something that was kind of fun, easy to remember, and just something easy to remember that can be easily identifiable, and and go from there. So, Olde Mother.
It's nice with a beer like Hank to be able to order a great beer with one easy to say name that you don't have to like stumble over your words or anything like that, or like learn a new language to order at the bar.
Yeah, man. And it's, that's it. It's just easy to say and easy to remember.
That's great. Well, the can art is awesome. I think it really, it tells the story of what the beer is to, the enthusiast and to the layman. Anybody walking through would see that as a beer that they could probably look at and say, I would appreciate that based on what I'm seeing.
Cool. Yeah. And, we're all mega art fans at the brewery. So like we take our labels pretty seriously. Like, obviously we work with a few great artists, and, you mentioned Brian, who we work with pretty extensively. And, we're always talking with each other. I'm getting excited and like, bouncing off ideas. And of course he delivers like every single time. And, I work with another artist down in West Virginia in Fayetteville named Adam Matthews. And he does our Impressionist label and also the Double Impressionist label. And he's got, his head just sees things that I can't see, but which makes it really fun and neat for us, because we're also like shocked and surprised and excited to see like a finished product, for the first time. And so, yeah, art is a pretty big deal for us. We love it.
I think you guys have a good approach to your aesthetic. I like that some of your stuff is definitely a little bit more shocking, maybe, in terms of like it's like when you look at the Direwolf label, for instance, like that label kind of screams something that you don't see when you're looking at the label that you've got on Blindsider. It's like a totally different thing that just pops right off the shelf in a way that's it's drawing, and it makes people want to say, hey, what the hell is that?
Right.
And you give it a cool metallic treatment with the label that you're buying and putting on those cans. So I think the label art speaks a lot to what you guys are doing with the brand.
Yeah, and we have a girl named Joey who does that label, the Direwolf. And speaking to her, she's incredible as well. I remember when I sent that file to the printer for the labels, they actually emailed me and said they were so excited to print that label. So I mean, that's kind of cool to hear, where a company that prints like a ton of breweries labels kind of reaches out to us and say they're excited about it, want to see it and stuff. So yeah, we definitely got some great artists that work for us and work with us.
Yeah, one of the comments that I actually heard when I was having a conversation about beer here with my in-laws was about label artwork from the craft beer scene and just how cool it is to see all of this really engaging art from these artists that are all local to the places where they're providing their work, you know, and it really kind of wraps that story up. You have somebody on your payroll who is crafting something that's going to go into that can. Why not find somebody local to you who can put something on the outside and tell that story? And,
right.
Really just kind of embrace what an art this is. So I think you guys are doing a good job. That's a long way to say that. I also appreciate your shirt. I noticed you guys had some koozies up on Instagram with the American flag overlay. I dig that.
Yeah, and we got the Hank shirts that just came out today too. For anybody,
Yeah, I saw that earlier. I've already suggested that I might need to have one of those end up in my drawer at home.
I mean, we look like West Virginia superstars in a Hank shirt. Let me tell you.
There you go, man.
Yeah.
Sleeves off it and roll around, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Call it a day.
Yeah, I'll wrestle a raccoon that later today.
All right, so tell me about Sucker Punch. You mentioned that this is a series of beers. The artwork is, again, really cool. So tell us this story. Tell us about this particular release. It's great.
So Ben Kaufman is the one who does the artwork for the Sucker Punch, and he is the guy who came up with our logo. And people may not know this, but Ben has won a lot of awards for his logo that he did for us throughout the graphic design community. And so, you know, he's a wizard and he can do some really incredible things. And so, yeah, he did this for us for all of our Sucker Punches. He does a little different flair for each fruit we use in there. This one is the strawberry rhubarb, like I was saying earlier. It is it tastes like a tangy strawberry daiquiri. I think it's delicious. It's so easy to drink. If you're looking for something that's light and refreshing, just sit out and, you know, grill to and, you know, just not have like palate fatigue, but just, you know, nice kind of like, it's almost like a mixed drink, but it's a beer. So, you know, if you're looking for that kind of a feeling in a beer, then this is the one to go to. Cheers.
I was putting the description in the chat. I was not ignoring you. It's got a beautiful color. It's like this really nice, almost muted neon pink. It's a really, really gorgeous color.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, the strawberry. Yeah, we put a lot in there. Have you tried it yet? Did you pick some up?
I brought a 4-pack. I have not tasted any of it, but it has already made its way around the table here, and the folks here are enjoying it.
Your wife loves the sours, doesn't she?
She does.
Yep. Okay. Well, yeah, we also are doing another one. We're releasing another one at the end of July this month. We're doing the Caribbean Queen. I don't know if you ever had that before.
I'm not. It's
pineapple, guava, and passion fruit Sucker Punch.
Oh, wow.
We've done it a couple of times. It's pretty good. So, yeah, we're going to package that guy up. And
so for your is Sucker Punch a Kettle Sour?
Yeah, so those are everything on our Sucker Punch series so far is a Kettle Sour. We do have a barrel program, which I highly recommend anybody who's into sours to come in and try some of our barrel-aged sours. They are turning out really, really nice. We just bottled our third rendition of Fermata a week and a half ago. So it needs about 2 more weeks in the bottle to get full carbonation and full bottle maturity as far as carbonation is concerned. And I think it's the best one out of the 3 that we've done. It has such a nice, clean, sharp tang to it that it's just really, really complex and flavorful. And I think we got 750 bottles out of this yield. And it's got pediococcus, you know, a lot of different Brett's in there, lactobacillus. I mean, it's delicious. It's really good. And we also have Dawn as a Feeling. I don't know if you've had that.
That's the Lavender Sour, right?
Yep. So what that is, that's a second use melange barrel. And so melange is basically just a myriad of different like Brett strains and all kinds of stuff in there. And we put white satin in that, and we've been letting that age we let it age for 5 months. And then once it was done, we cold steeped it on lavender flowers. And it's just really good. We didn't bottle it just because it was one barrel worth, so we just did a few kegs and put it on tap. But yeah,
it is a fantastically delicious beer.
did you try it?
I did try it. Somebody on your staff may or may not have let me take a crowler of it home to enjoy.
Oh, okay.
It was absolutely delicious. And then Chelsea and I stopped by a couple of days ago, and I actually had another one while we were there, and it was that is an incredible approach to a very delicate barrel-aged sour beer. Like the tartness is right on point. You get that lavender in the nose that just like kind of, it almost wakes you up to what this experience is going to be, and then it's not there in the taste, and it's just the most really, really a well-rounded beer.
Jake Beamer, our brewer, he's all about the sour program, and he does a great job of managing the barrels. He definitely does a great job. I can't say enough about him when it comes, especially with the sour program. And hopefully we can continue to grow it. It takes so much time, and we don't have all the space right now to put a bunch more barrels, but we add them when we can, and we still have fun with it. But you never know, we might have put a couple of fooders in our program at some point. But right now we're just doing what we're doing, and we're testing the barrels about once every month just to see how they're coming along and keep filling them up. I think Jake right now, he just filled the barrels from where the Fermata came from. We're going to do maybe a Flanders Red.
There you go.
Yeah, and so it might not be true to style of a Flanders Red, but it's going to be a little bit more of a darker, maltier sour at least. And so we'll see, how long it takes for the flavor to come out in that guy. But hopefully within the next 9 months. It might take a year, but hopefully 9 months or sooner. But we'll see.
Well, it sounds like you're cultivating some pretty good funky bacteria here to inoculate these beers with. So that's good. Keep
keep
going.
There's definitely been a couple of barrels where we had to just get rid of them because it didn't work out. Anybody that does barrel aged sours will know that those will happen. And it's like all that time you're just like, this is my baby growing up, and then your baby is a terrible human being, and you got to push him off the cliff. You know what I'm saying? That's what it feels like.
So, what are you thinking? Are you going to start aging some barrels over there at the fire station across the street, or do you have any space where you guys can expand this barrel program, or are you going to try to keep everything there in the building?
Well, we do have some big news coming in the near future. I can't let anything out of the bag yet, but it's going to be pretty fun. It's all a good time. It's going to be a good time. I can't wait to make announcements and actually, get things going. But that will come at a later date. And then,
is the big news that Tending to Corpses is playing at Olde Mother? Because I want that to happen.
It's a funny thing crossing my my metal world into the beer world. I just, for the most part, I try to separate that as much as possible. But you never know.
You always say that you won't play in your own place, and I think you should.
My basement, my garage been working out pretty good for me. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I do think there's a lot of metal fans in Frederick, but I just don't want to alienate a lot of the people who come into our place a lot and might scare the hell out of them, seeing some of that stuff or hearing some of that stuff. I mean, I just don't know, but I don't know. We tend to play beat up, dingy shitholes, so it's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of where we stay with this kind of thing. But
so you would prefer that to your nice, refined, well-appointed brewery?
Yeah, exactly right. So we try to keep it a little low key. We don't try to go too heavy on like super nice stuff. We want it to feel like it's okay if you spill your beer a little bit. You don't have to feel like, oh my gosh, don't spill the beer on grandma's nice carpet. So we try to keep a little bit of that like kind of like easygoing flair about our place, and to where you're not uncomfortable of like just more comfortable. And so we may end up playing a show there. I do have some things in mind. You never know.
All right. Well, I hope I hear about it beforehand so I can be sure to be there.
You going to get in the mosh pit?
Oh yeah, I'll start the mosh pit. That's what you need, is the tallest guy in the place starting the mosh pit.
Yeah, I know what that's like. We're the first ones to get kicked in the face too by all crowd surfers.
That's it. All right, so do me a favor. Tell everybody who's watching how they can keep in touch with what you guys are up to. You guys have some good stuff happening on Instagram. Let people know what your handles are, where they can find out information about Olde Mother. And then talk to us a little bit about how they can get your beer over the next couple of weeks. I know you already alluded to what's going on this weekend, but what's in store as we kind of relax some of these restrictions about COVID? What's the easiest way for your staff to get people great beer? And then let's find a way to wrap this conversation up.
Sounds good. So if anybody wants to come in, we have strategically placed a lot of space between all tables and seats inside of our tasting room. Our goal is not to fit as many people in there as possible. The goal is to make sure everybody is safe and feels safe while they're in our tasting room. And we have some space out in our patio as well, which we definitely put less tables and chairs in there than we could, according to recommendations. So if you feel good and you want to come out and hang out with us, know that we're definitely have a ton of space and everybody can be really far apart from each other to feel safe if you want to venture into that realm. If not, you can order beer for delivery on beerme.com. We'll drive it to your house. If you want to come in and just pick up a bunch of stuff to go, we have plenty of social distancing in the taste room in the order section, and you can get it to go and you can do it that way. And or you can go to the liquor stores anywhere. I'm sure we're in a lot of places. I don't know every place exactly right now, but I know that we're in most of the state of Maryland. So if you just want to go to the store, feel free to, we have most offerings that we have in the liquor stores, except for some of the beers like Sucker Punch that have they got to stay cold all the time. We don't let those go out to distro as much so they don't blow up on people, which, but you can get those at the brewery. But yeah, and you can follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. You can check out our website. We always have updates, and yeah, we appreciate your business and hope to see you guys. And if you have any concerns or want to yell at me or anything or say negative stuff to me or positive stuff, feel free to email us, and we check our email every day. So willing to listen and talk. Hit me up.
Well, Nick, I appreciate it, man. It's always a pleasure to see you. I look forward to seeing you in person, giving you a big hug, and drinking a beer sometime soon.
Well, you know where we're going in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'll try to hunt you down.
All right.
And to everybody that's watching this afternoon, thank you so much for spending a couple of minutes with Nick and I. We really appreciate it. These talks are great. It gives us a chance to talk about all the great things that these small businesses here in Maryland are doing. Again, today is Beer Run Day. Please get out there, support your independent brewery, place your orders. You got a couple hours left to place orders for curbside, carry out, and probably for delivery from a few places. But celebrate this weekend, celebrate your independence, celebrate the independence of these small businesses, what they mean to our economy, and just say thanks to a brewer, man. There are a lot of great people in this industry. They're making wonderful beer on our behalf, and we're all better for it. So stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you next week. Nick, be good, brother.
Cheers, man.
Talk soon.
See you.